Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at 360 Vegas Studios with another edition of Trooper Talk. So, Trooper Wellman, I was at lunch the other day with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the Trooper Talk and the wrong way driving and all this stuff, and that friend of mine was friends with the person who was killed about 5 weeks ago on the 215 right up near the Hualapai. And so, they have that famous movie star, that 5 Degrees of Bacon or whatever that's called. Where you ever heard that? Where everybody is connected to this one guy by like a movie or this.
Yes.
Or okay. If we come down to the wrong way driving, people are all connected.
Absolutely.
And so, although we didn't know that person, maybe we knew a friend of that person, and that person is connected. And what a horrible I still get chills from doing that, from thinking about that from 5 weeks ago, but now even more so. Very scary.
We're all connected. That's why we are a community. That's why we all make up the community. We are the community members. That's why we say we are part of the community that we serve and protect, because we are all connected. And unfortunately, I can't tell you how many calls I've been on where somebody's been seriously injured or killed or had a medical episode, and I either knew them or I knew their family members. And it's very sad and it's a hard thing, but at the same time, it's comforting to know that I did everything I could to try to save their loved one. The story that comes to my mind was there was this elderly woman one time, and she was just having a medical episode, and we administered CPR, but it was just too late. And come to find out, one of my friends that I've known since I was 15 years old, it was her grandmother. And so, as sad as that was, but I didn't know that connection until I saw later on social media the girl posting pictures of her grandma, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, that's that woman from the scene. And so I reached out to the friend, and it's like, is it appropriate to reach out? Is it not appropriate? Granted, I knew the girl, but
Right.
I don't want to overstep, and I just wanted her to know, without going into too much detail, that I did everything I could. And actually, I think she found some comfort with it, knowing that I was with her grandma, and that, we did try to, resuscitate her and help her in every way possible until all, means were exhausted. And
So when it comes to being connected, and that's one of the things that's very difficult when we look at just adjusting to us driving and stuff. And so I know that, so when I went on the drive this Sunday, what's very interesting is that bump up on the 215.
mm-hmm.
So it says 45 miles an hour, speed limit strictly enforced.
Yeah.
If you do 45 to 50 miles an hour, that bump is no big deal. When you go over that speed limit, that bump is a killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know what else I noticed too that I wanted to ask? On the freeway it says no engine brake. Like they have that big sign, right?
Correct.
So is that when you're coming down, they want you to actually hit your brakes, just don't let your foot off the gas pedal?
So that's for commercial vehicles. Next time you see something like that, or you're driving, look for signs that say,
Like the downgrade and all that, right?
yeah, I don't know the exact term, like off the top of my head, but it's like truck runaway or something. What it is that when these commercial vehicles, because they're carrying so much weight, even if they're braking, they're going too fast, and they can't stop. So if there was an emergency, there is a turnoff you can turn, and some of them are dirt, some of them are gravel, and what it is it's put in place to slow them down if their brakes go out. I could actually have a commercial unit come on one day and talk about those different signs, because I don't think a lot of the public knows what those are.
I didn't know, and so so I'm coming down the road and I didn't understand, because I thought it was like a car, like don't engine brake, and so but then I was thinking, well, if you're going down and you were to downshift the car, right? Like in my car, I can manually downshift.
Yeah.
Would you then downshift, or would you just like let your foot? Because I thought, well, maybe if people are coming so fast and you just depress the gas pedal, people don't know you're actually brake. I just didn't
It's more for commercial vehicles. Mm-hmm.
So now we're getting into June,
Yes.
right? So now the kids are done with school, so now they're getting into summer, maybe not. But the difference is that our priorities are maybe a little bit different now versus a couple weeks ago. Maybe they're a little bit more rushed. So we have to give ample time so that we don't have to travel at an unsafe speed.
Yes.
Right? And by traveling at an unsafe speed, it causes, unsafe lane changes, a variety of different things, right?
Yes, absolutely. With the summer now approaching, we are going to see an increase of tourists coming to town, right? Summer vacation. They're going to come here for a good time. You're also going to see our juveniles out and about more, hanging out at parks and maybe being places they're not supposed to be at certain times. So I can't stress enough to the parents or the parental guardian of these youth to make sure you know where your children are at all times and are being accountable for them, because we've talked about it in previous episodes. But let's say one of the situations we talked about, or examples, was a 15-year-old is driving a vehicle. They may have their permit, but they don't have their driver's license. The parent, if they know that they have that vehicle, because there's been many times that we've stopped young adults and said, where are you going to? And they're like, oh, I'm going to my friend's house or practice or whatnot. And my dad knew I was driving, or my mom knew I was driving. And if that's the case, and you call mom and dad to come pick up the car and them, otherwise it's going to get towed, and the parent does know, the citation goes to the parent, because they are the guardian of that child and they are responsible for that minor. And so, if they're at the parks and if they're up to no good and they're out past curfew, like, please just be aware that could come back on you as the guardian, because they are your responsibility. I highly encourage, if you can, get your kids involved in summer camps, summer sports, go down to the rec centers, keep your children occupied so that way they don't get into mischievous things, because they'll find things to do. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself when I was young. But, summertime is supposed to be fun and let's have a good time, but we need to do it responsibly and plan ahead. We just had Memorial Day weekend, and, we were hoping for 0 fatalities, and unfortunately that didn't occur this weekend, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But all lives are in everybody's hands every time you get behind that wheel, and you're making a choice every time you get behind that wheel. So please just think twice before getting behind that wheel, and never drive impaired.
Yeah. And to even go one step further from what you just said, if that child causes bodily harm or something like that, and that parent knows, it's, that even intensifies things. And I saw that they're going to put the Rex's law on the governor's table, which is for if you get hurt in the with bodily harm, substantially bodily harm, they changed it from 1 to 6 years to 6 to 10 years. And so, the thing is that, we're thankful that people are, stepping up to to protect our community against these people who just don't care.
That
you know what I mean?
Do not fear the consequences, right?
Yeah. I keep giving out the mugs all the time, and people come in and they keep saying, I just say, keep America's roadway safe. You know what I mean? Like, we got to stop these people. And I go, people, they just don't care. And they go, they just don't care. Ah.
Hey, there he is.
There he is. He sent me a text and asked me to come from the, and sent me his invitation, right? And so
I was wondering how you found out about it. That's really special.
Yeah, and so he said, do you mind to come? And I go, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, that sounds great. And he said, at the end, it would mean a lot to me. And so, out of all the people in the world that he could invite, or that he could send a text to, or whatever, it was very special. And he was so busy with everyone there, right? But, he took the time. He came over. He said hello to me. He said hello to Johnny. And like, you know, it was just cool. And so we made the video for him, right? And like, it's very special.
I told you he's one of a kind.
Yeah.
And that's why from day one when I introduced you to him, I wanted you to meet him because he is such an amazing leader. The impact he had on you in such a short period of time. Imagine the impact he has on us as troopers.
Yeah,
You know, working underneath him and going out there and fighting crime and, you know, making a difference in the community. He's very, very 110. He's always on 110, right?
Yeah.
But he makes you motivated. He pumps you up and he makes you want to get out there and he constantly reminds you why you wear the badge. And that's why I love working for leaders like him. And then I think that just speaks volume about the impact you had on him. Like you said, he could have invited anyone. It was a very small, intimate setting for his promotion. And I mean, captain is really, really high, so this is a big deal. And he invited you. So that just all around it just gives me tight feeling. Like I'm just so happy for both of you because, you know, I had a little part in making that connection. And you guys are both very special in my life, so I think that's great.
Yeah, no, and when I feel the same, and it was just awesome, and we got to hang out with you know others that were there, and you know I didn't bring the Trooper Talk mugs or anything because I wanted it to be about him.
Yeah.
Right, but I got to go around and shake everybody's hand, and you know some of them I met before, some of them I didn't meet before, and so his title now, so he's the captain. So I went to the so after this we went to the IPOF meeting with Chelsea, right, Lieutenant Stunkel,
Yep.
right, and so I said, I go, oh, you know, it was so great. So now he's her boss.
Yes.
So he's the captain of urban. So is that like all the streets and stuff like that?
Like our here in town.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be rural. So he's not like, you know, Beatty, Pahrump, Wells, none of the rural areas. He's urban. So he's here in town, Las Vegas, Henderson, I-11, mainly our high
like
traffic
here,
areas.
right.
Yep.
And so he's in charge of
All those operations.
so including the drug interdiction and all that.
I'm not sure if he's overseeing that. I think he is because that's his passion.
Yeah.
So he's perfect for the role. I'm like 70% sure that that's also under his umbrella. Is that he's over all the specialized units, interdiction, canine, the fatality team, so motors. I think he's over all our specialty units as well.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But that's why he has people like Lieutenant Stunkel and then all the sergeants like Sergeant Smacka and all them that he relies on, part of his team.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I'm so glad. Oh, and so anyway, so nobody sees, but we got to meet his wife.
Oh, yep.
Right. We got to meet his aunt. We got to meet his best friend.
Yep.
Right, and so it was very cool.
And his wife's a retired trooper, so it's
right. I said something to her. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's
great.
super special. Like
Right.
we're a family.
100%. So congratulations to him. Okay. 17-year-old motorcycle killed in Northwest Valley.
I saw this on the news. We didn't handle this crash, but it was devastating because it was a high school student.
Yes, that's why we wanted to put it here.
It's so sad.
So we want to underline. We want to talk about a few things. First of all, the fact of that a motorcycle or moped or whatever is different from a four-door car.
Absolutely.
Okay. Secondarily, from that, as you described and as I would describe, we were all young. And so we all did things like, oh, don't worry, it's no big deal. But the difference is that, you know, where I did things maybe in a backyard and a lawn, like, you know, I broke my foot or something like that, you know, I was never doing, like, not that what he was doing was wrong,
Right.
but I'm just saying that I never did these type of things. And so, but I know from driving in a car that when you drive fast in a car and it has four wheels, at least you can put on brakes and you can stop. And so this morning when I was getting on the freeway to go for my drive this morning, there was somebody on one of those motorcycles and it had somebody, you know, the first person, right? So he has this, and then the second person was on the back. And they're going like 75 miles an hour. And I don't know if it was a girl or a guy, but she's holding on to like,
Oh my gosh.
like straps or whatever she was holding, like this, right? Like she wasn't like, you know, normally like maybe you're holding, but even that's scary. Like all of a sudden, you know, I don't know. So
So being from some,
yeah,
I have I used to ride, and I only rode double maybe twice, and let someone get on the back of my bike. And I'll tell you what, that is a totally different beast, because not only are you controlling the bike and your body weight, and you know how to negotiate the curves, but when you have someone on the back, if they don't move with you, or they don't know what you're doing and they go against, so like if I'm turning left and they go to the right, we're fighting the turn and everything's all messed up. Like, you have to be one when you're riding on this bike, or your passenger has to just go with the flow and trust you. Otherwise, again, it's going to mess everything up. And when you're traveling at speeds like that, every time I see a motorcycle with 2 riders on it, that's like a sports bike, not so much like the Harleys and stuff, 'cause
right.
that's more a cruiser. But the sports bikes, I literally hold my breath for them, because it freaks me out if they hit one bump, if they swerve at all. And I've seen it firsthand, obviously. But, oh my goodness, like that back passenger's just going to...
Right.
It's very, very terrifying. But hey, I mean, to each their own. And I know some people are super comfortable with it, and I get that, right? But I don't know. We just had Motorcycle Safety Week or month recently, and we put on our social media some things to always look twice before changing lanes in a motor vehicle, because sometimes these motorcycles, it's hard to see them, right? As a motorcycle rider, if you can, put your lights on, make sure you always have a helmet, make sure you're being courteous and leaving enough room when you're making your lane changes as well, so others can see you. Don't split lanes. You don't need to be going all fast, because that's what startles people, is they don't know you're coming. And especially if you're traveling at a high rate of speed, if you've noticed that, like, if a motorcycle's coming up fast on you, you almost don't realize they're even there until after they pass you, because the sound travels. And it's like, at that point, it's too late, because when the sound's right there, you're going to get startled and you're going to jerk. And at that point, they could be right next to you, instead of they could have given you enough time to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, it's just all the above. Everybody needs to practice safe driving characteristics and habits, and so that we can all stay safe and get to our destination safely.
Yeah, so this Sunday, there were 4 motorcycles that I passed. But you know what they had? They had super bright lights in the front. So, like, I don't know, like, if you get, like, if you can get brighter lights on a motorcycle, but like you're saying, like, it showed 4 motorcycles, and they were brighter than a car during the day. And so at least you could see them. And so I don't know them, and I don't know the family. I know someone that their daughter goes to the lower school than this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure that everybody was affected.
Yeah.
And so, he was supposed to go to college this year.
I saw that.
You know what I mean? And so...
It's beyond tragic.
Please, everyone, like you said, just be with your kids, know where they're at this summer. You know what I mean? And if they drive, if they're learning to drive, whatever, then please just let them be safe, and, just a complete tragedy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trooper Wellman, thanks again. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right, see you later.